Welcome to Transform Now, a podcast focused on intelligent automation and brought to you by SS&C Blue Prism. On this program, we talk about how organizations globally are rethinking the way they operate, utilizing process orchestration and AI-enabled digital workers to free up humans to do the work that matters most. We also share insights and tips on how you can embrace this new way of working and unleash your full potential. Let's get into the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Transform Now podcast. I'm Michael Marchuk.
And I'm Brad Hairston.
And this is our weekly pulse check on automation and AI news. Of course, as we get into this, you'll be able to find all the links to the articles we'll be covering today in our show notes. So the first one I know we were going to go through here is the AI revolution is meeting reality. And this is on MSN. It's an article talking about the whole hype cycle that we're all familiar with, now moving into a sense of, hey, this is actually needing to do more than just be fun to play with. So what are your thoughts on what they mentioned in this article?
Yeah, this is a really good article, kind of a reality check on how far deployments have gone to date. It mentions that 21% of companies that were surveyed by Gartner said they've implemented Gen AI in production. And that does seem low, but I recall by the end of last year, when I interviewed Tom Davenport on the podcast, he said that his survey indicated 6% of pilots have made it in. So
Making some progress.
15% benefit or increase since then. That's not bad. And the article says, you know, the gurus out there are saying that even though people thought it was going to transform everything really, really fast, the change is going to be more incremental. And, you know, there are a lot of constraints to be considered, right? We talk about these all the time. A lot of these articles we're reading talk about those constraints, about the skills, about the data availability, the processing power. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to fall into place for Gen AI to become a reality. So I thought it was a great, very well balanced article. The highlight for me in the article was when it pointed out that without clarity of the why, it becomes very difficult to move forward with the what and the how. And this is great. This speaks to the importance of really understanding what the right use cases are to pursue with Gen AI, to do it at scale. And that's something I've seen with a lot of our customers that are really eager to move forward. They just haven't quite landed the right use case yet, or they've chosen a use case that really doesn't require Gen AI, which is another problem. So I think that's a really great point that the article makes. And then the final thing that I really liked, it gave some use cases that have become reality. And the one that I thought was really cool was it talked about an automotive company that has a Gen AI solution they're using to diagnose car problems using words, pictures, and sounds. And I think that's really innovative and really interesting. And I can see how you could have a lot of data points to use in doing that and doing it effectively. And boy, I could use that myself. My cars make weird sounds all the time, and I'm like, is that a brake problem? Is that a engine problem?
I can only imagine the data scientists trying to train this stuff, getting information from the mechanics to describe those sounds and how they come out of that engine.
Yeah, exactly. So really good article in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. This next article is something, again, we talked about. These are all standalone, very different articles. And this one here comes back to a comment that one of our former guests, Trond Unheim, had brought up regarding universal basic income because of the impacts of AI. So this is from Forbes, and the title is, "Can Universal Basic Income Save Us from the Destabilization of AI and Automation?" Now, I know there's a lot of people on both sides of this, and I don't want to make this a political discussion, but what are your thoughts as this particular article outlines some of the activities that they see coming up?
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with this article more. What's interesting to me is it just kind of goes into the argument for UBI without even, I mean, it talks about it like it's a real thing, like it's right on the cusp of becoming reality.
Right.
And maybe in some countries, but here in the US, it's not even, I mean, there's nothing about it that's viable, at least in the near term. And so put that aside for a second. I understand the argument. They're saying, look, young people already have a lot of mental health issues. That seems to be on the rise. And now they're coming into an economy where they have to compete with machines for a smaller, percentage of jobs. And that's just going to make mental health problems worse. It's going to make unemployment worse. So the argument of the author is UBI is a way to combat that. We ought to give them this free money that's going to allow them to go get the skills they need, to spend more time, maybe go back to school, get another degree, whatever it is. But I'm just not buying it. First and foremost, Michael, this is really not different than it was 35 years ago when you and I got out of school. I don't know about you, but I learned a lot in college, but I learned everything I did in my job within the first few years of my job. I learned it on the job. And that's really the way it's always been. I mean, college is about learning how to be, a critical thinker, how to learn fast, how to, transform your thinking depending on different situations you encounter. I mean, those are the things college prepares you for. But let's be honest, you get out of school, your company that you go start with, or your first 3 companies, or your first 5 companies, they're going to teach you what you need to know. They're going to give you the training, or they're going to send you somewhere to get it. So I just don't buy this, hey, AI and automation has made the world a horrible place for our young people. Let's just give them this free money and that will make everything okay.
Well, one of the things that struck me, and so this quote that I'm going to read you is from Evelyn Forget. I don't know if you say forget or forget, but that's her last name.
I forget.
Exactly. But she's making the point, and I'll read the quote and I'll give you a commentary. So her quote was, UBI can allow some workers the time to go back to school and acquire new skills, and it can allow older workers to transition into retirement with a bit of dignity. So a couple things I have with that. First of all, workers going back to get education. I'm all for workers getting education. But as you mentioned, oftentimes they're going to get education from the people who want them to be leveraging that skill in place. So like you said, at our job, we come here, we learn, we apply.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect. The last part there too, allowing older workers to transition to retirement with dignity. That got me, quite honestly, because that right there has devalued everyone in the baby boomer generation who's still working right now. And they choose to continue to work because they actually like what they do. So UBI would not be something that they would find as attractive option because they're not ready to go out to pasture yet, right?
Yeah.
They want to continue to contribute. They're keeping their mind active. They like what they do.
Yeah.
So this concept of, well, this will just get all those old folks off the street and put them back in the home where they belong, seemed very odd to me that she would do that. But anyway, this is an article, again, I also disagree with, but hey, that's where all about here is get some little controversy stirred up and stir in the pot. So
yeah, it was an interesting one to read for sure.
Absolutely. And so our last one is talking about higher education. So we just talked about education and the workers and whatnot. So now we're going to talk about this article from Forbes, which is called AI Will Shrink the University. And we just had Juliette Powell, who's a professor over at NYU, on the podcast a little shortly ago. And she's very outspoken about AI being applied to all kinds of things. Every business major should be an AI specialist because it's going to be something that they're going to require as they go out into the field. What did you think of the way this article positioned that?
Yeah, it's an interesting piece for sure. I think similar to the first article, it's a little bit of a reality check. It talks about this notion that a lot of people have been putting out there that AI will replace a lot of teachers, that AI tutors are going to transform education, when in fact, what's really being proven out is that our brains are designed to learn from other humans. That learning and teaching itself requires that personal connection. So AI tutors have proven to be, I mean, they can do a lot, but they haven't proven so far to be as adequate as human teachers. And they cite one guy from IBM who was leading $100 million initiative to make AI work for tutoring. And he came back after that and said, tutoring is a terrible use of AI. So that says a lot right there. But the article goes on to say the real impact of AI in higher ed is going to take shape by automating a lot of the routine things that higher education still uses people to do. Things like admissions and financial aid and transportation and parking services. There are so many people that are still doing these things in a very manual way. AI and automation should automate those things, eliminate them, and then use that excess capital to get better teachers and more teachers and continue to teach the way that we taught people for centuries, and not say that, oh, we need to leverage AI. AI is awesome. I use it every single day. But if I thought that was the only way that I was going to learn, about certain topics or learn about trends or what have you, I think that would be problematic. I get as much from talking to people, from talking to customers, from talking to industry experts, from going to sessions and hearing people present and tell stories. AI cannot replace what humans can do in terms of storytelling, in my opinion. And so I think the combination of the two are going to continue to do education and do it well. So I thought the article was good, the way it, kind of dispelled the idea that it's going to replace educators. But boy, it could really turn higher ed institutions inside out.
It could. The other thing you mentioned too is, AI replacing teachers and whatnot. And this gets back to the whole concept of knowledge versus wisdom, because you may be able to understand something, but it's applying it in a way that makes the most sense and provides the most benefit and outcome, which often does come, as you say, with stories, with experience. Right. So having a teacher provide some context to this and some stories to allow them to understand, hey, students, this is why we think this way. This is why you should consider this. This is why it's important that we're even teaching this to you. Because quite honestly, it's very easy to say, here's a giant textbook. There's plenty. The internet's got enough information out there. So it's not a lack of information that we're having. It's really, how do you apply that in a way that helps people understand it? That empathetic teacher perspective is invaluable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, fantastic. Well, those are our 3 articles we have this week. And if you have any questions, go to our chat on the bottom of our page and go ahead and chat with us. There, we'll answer your questions, as well as please remember to subscribe and like our content, and we'll continue to produce this as well as our normal weekly content every week for you. With that, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Transform Now, the podcast from SS&C Blue Prism. You can find all of our episodes on your favorite podcast channel, as well as YouTube. To stay on top of the hottest topics in the world of intelligent automation, subscribe now. The future of work is here.